and maybe morning to good day to you wherever you're joining us today from. So today we've got another exciting session in terms of like something different from what we're used to. A lot of times we get sessions on Power BI and it's just strictly focusing on Power BI. But today we've got MVP Anastasia. She's going to take us through an interesting angle to it because a lot of us sometimes ignore the fact that we work with management folks and business leaders who are used to getting reports in a particular format. And there's always this joke that every data analysis tool must always have export to Excel. So today we're going to hear a unique angle from Anastasia, and she's already here. I'll try to get out of her way so that she can do what she's planned for us. And this session is brought to you by BizApps Analytics. Your BizApps is a Microsoft Excel training, consulting, and solutions firm. We do Power BI too and financial modeling, but our market is mostly Nigeria and Africa. And I'm going to share a link of where you could get resources that you can access for free. Some are paid too, but you can at least take advantage of the free ones if you need to take exams on the financial modeling. We've got free mock exams. Then also there's MHS Analytics, a Canadian entity, the same services, but servicing the North American market. So providing the same data analytics services. So now to the main aspect of our session today, we've got Anastasia. In my head, when I see her name, I always remember Princess Anastasia. So I'm always trying not to say Princess Anastasia because I read instrumental in, I think it was the whole Russia or something. So, but we've got Microsoft.
I think we have some issues, some connection issues on your side.
What about now? Am I back?
Yeah, I think that should be okay.
Okay, I'm going to. All right, so maybe I'll quickly get out of the way then and give you control. So today we are lucky to have Anastasia with us to present to us on this topic. She's a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. I think, she's got this Captain Platform symbol. So anything related to Power Platform and data analytics, I think she tries to cover everything in that space. I'm going to share LinkedIn in the chat, but right now I'm going to hand over to her so that she can have the whole 57 minutes left to take us what she's prepared. So I'll stop sharing my screen. Okay, so over to you.
Great, thank you. So I will try just to share my screen if someone can confirm me the famous.
Yes, we see your screen.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great. So yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm happy to always share and to always spend some time with the community and with people that have the same passion around the data. So today, indeed, as you mentioned, we have a very popular question, which is how can I export this to Excel, which I'm sure everyone has got. If you work with Power BI, and not only with Power BI, I mean, if you do if you use Tableau, Power BI, or any other visualization tool, I think we very often get asked this question. So quickly about myself, and I like this meme. I will just activate the pointer so that you see what I'm talking. So I like this meme that I found on LinkedIn of someone from LinkedIn account. The situation where you spend some time working on a report, it is great, but no one uses, and everyone just wants to export it to Excel. So about myself, I'm working as a business applications principal consultant. So this includes the Power Platform part, and I'm also working with Power BI since 5 years. I'm based in Switzerland, so I don't know if there are some people from Switzerland here. Passionate about the data, Microsoft MVP on the data platform part, and I love sharing and learning from others. and I'm sharing tips and tricks on LinkedIn. So I'm doing this every week. So don't hesitate to follow me on LinkedIn. I think that this is the situation that we spend days, weeks, months, or even years. Sometimes we have reports and projects that last years, and we create a report. And the only question sometimes we get asked is, how can I export this data to Excel? So unfortunately, the immediate reaction and solution that we have is the frustration, because we spend all that time working on the topic, and in the end, we only get asked that question, not even a compliment on the work that we did. We just ask the question about the export to Excel. So we are frustrated, and I hope that we all know the classic way of exporting the data to Excel. So we just inform the users about this option, and afterwards they just do this. And that's it. So generally, we often stop here. The user is kind of happy because they know how to use it, and they will use it each and every time when they need to export some data to Excel. And on our side, we just move forward, maybe to a next report, maybe to a next project, and we keep this thing aside. So my idea today is during this session, is to try to explore the different options that we have when it comes to these situations, because options exist. So the most important thing is to try to understand why we have that export request, because every person comes with a need, so they want to export the data for a specific need. And this is where it's important to try to understand, to find the reasons behind this basic actions or action of exporting to Excel. So here are some common situations that, at least on my side, I identified. If on your side you have other situations or other solutions that you work with or you implemented, don't hesitate to put those in the chat. And indeed, if you have any questions during the entire presentation, don't hesitate to ask them in the chat. I'm doing a follow-up with the chat, so I will be happy to answer those. So don't hesitate to write those. So the different situations that on my side I identified is the first one, which is people just want to send the data externally. So let's say that we have a person that wants to send some Excel export to another person. This could be some internal people, this could be some external people, and often the external part, because if the person is an internal one, they maybe can just share the link to the Power BI report. But in this use case, they just want to send them externally. We also have people who just love Excel and they just want to use the familiar Excel formulas that you have in this tool. And while on my side, at least when I do trainings or Power BI, I'm trying to do some parallels between the DAX, so the language used in Power BI, and the one in Excel. So with some parallels in terms of formulas, in terms of calculations, but still there are some differences that make it sometimes difficult for Power BI users to understand how to write a good DAX expressions or a good DAX formula. So they prefer just, going in Excel, just writing the formula and just filling in the entire sheet. So this could be also a situation. In some other cases, people just want to combine the data with other sources. So for example, they have some sales data, they want to export it in Excel, and they want to add, for example, some forecasting data or some budget data and see if if the data is okay or not based on that external one. So this could also be a situation, and they just copy paste the data between the files, and in the end, this makes a lot of files, but they are happy with this solution. In some other cases, just people want to create their own visualization. So let's say that they already have access to a Power BI report, but the visuals that are in that specific report are not suitable for their need. So maybe they want a graph in a different way, some other axes, other indicators. So they say, okay, I prefer exporting the data from Power BI to Excel, and in Excel creating my own graphs and charts, and afterwards maybe adding those in a PowerPoint, in a Word file, in an email, and so on. So this is also one of the situations. And the final one that I wanted to add is just people feel more comfortable with Excel, and they are, if you have people who work since 10, 20 years with this tool, I think they have more difficulties to switch to another tool. And this is where they prefer using something that they used since years and years. And I think I already worked with a company who was doing some accounting and controlling, and I mean those people just love Excel and they use Excel each and every day, and this is something that they are used to, so they don't want really to switch to another tool. So these are 5 situations that, at least on my side, I see very often. I don't know if on your side you see something else or you faced other situations, so don't hesitate to write those in the chat. But I would say these are the 5 top situations and common things that people face. So once we have those situations, what is important is to say, okay, we have the situation, we have the immediate solution, which is the one that I just mentioned here with the 3 dots and just export to Excel. But what is also important is to try to understand the reasons, so to identify if people are part of those 5 situations or even other situations that may come. Try to discuss with people to try to understand what they are doing with that data. Why do they need to do that export? Do they send the data? Do they need it internally, and so on? So this will take more time. This is taking a bit more time than just clicking on a button, exporting, and just leaving the things as is. But this is an important step. And if, for example, you have a lot of people in the company that will ask you the same question each and every time, maybe there is something that you could optimize. And maybe there is something that could be implemented for the entire company so that the users don't need to do this each and every time. And also, what is important to understand is that, users are often more familiar with Excel because they've been using this since years. And sometimes it's not about the technology itself. So I'm not saying that Excel is better on Power BI or Power BI is better than Excel. It's about people and about their training on those tools. So this means that maybe people are not using Power BI just because they are not aware of those of the different capabilities that this tool has. And sometimes companies decide to implement Power BI. They put this in place. They put reports in place, but they don't take time to explain to the different users how Power BI can help them. And in the end, people are just not using Power BI because they were not trained on, because they were not explained, and so on. So this is one of the most important topics. So it's just user training, change management, and this is something that could solve a lot of issues in the companies and a lot of those situations that we have. So now let's explore some situations along with some possible solutions on this topic. So the first situation, so we will have about 7 situations that I will try to demo with some demos that I prepared. If you have other ideas or other solutions for those different situations, also don't hesitate to share those using the chat. So the first situation is people are just more comfortable with manipulation in Excel, so they've been using this since years, and they just love Excel. And this is not an issue. So if they like Excel, they can just like Excel, and they can use Excel as they want because they maybe find it more easier to use. More, this is integrated into their tools and so on. So what is important here in this situation? Okay, we say users can use Excel, but what is important is to be aware of different options that we have when we say, okay, we can work with Excel, but what are the different options that we have? So the most popular one that I think we always suggest to the users and we always explain to the user is these three dots that we have on the different visuals in Power BI, so in a Power BI report. So I will just maybe show it here in the Power BI report. But I think you are mostly all aware of this. So here I have just a report that I will be showing during the entire session. This is a sample report from Microsoft. So I didn't prepare anything, so a special one. So you have some templates, some samples. I think this is very useful because in some cases when you are doing some demos and you don't want to use company data or you don't want to use a specific data, those samples can be used in order to do some demonstrations. So just to let you know. And the most straightforward way of exporting is you have the three dots on the upper right part. You have the export data. And what is important here is to mention that you have different exporting options. So you have two main categories. So you have the live connection and you have the classic Excel or CSV with certain max rows. So what is the difference between these two is the first one with a live connection. This means that you will export, you will create an Excel file with a live connection to your Power BI data set. And this means that if tomorrow or in 1 week you update your data in Power BI, you will be able to see the changes in your Excel file. So in case you need to have up-to-date data in both Power BI and also on the Excel part, you can use this kind of connection because in this way you can always have up-to-date data and users will have you will work with the up-to-date data. Because one of the main reasons why the classic option, so when you just export a snapshot of the data, is that it can be out of date and also users never know if when maybe they did the export, is the data up to date or not. So this could be an issue. But this is also a good option if, for example, you have changing data and you want to have those snapshots every week and to see how the data changes. Because, for example, in accounting, sometimes we can have some changes in the past. And this could be a good option to say, okay, I'm doing snapshots maybe every week. And in this way, I know how my data changed over time. So these two options can be used depending on the situation. And the other, so we have the live and the snapshots. What is also important to mention with a live connection is that this requires users to authenticate. So this means that if they want to refresh, they need to log in with their account. And this is kind of a security layer that is added to the files. And the second option that we have, and this is something that that was out last year. So this is a cool option present in Excel. So let's say that users work with Excel and they want to directly connect to some Power BI data. So instead of, because I already had use cases where people told me, okay, I need to have access to a specific report in Power BI, and when we ask them, but why do you need to have access to that report? People just say, okay, I need to have access to that report just to be able to click on the three dots, to be able to export the data, and they just go to Power BI service to the platform, just to go to single report and export data from a specific visual. So this takes still a bit of time, even if it's 1 minute or two. So why not bring the Power BI into Excel? So this is something that is also possible. So instead of going to Power BI service, opening the right report, clicking on the three dots, and afterwards exporting the data, people can just open and use the Excel app on their computers. And here they can go to data, they can go to the get data. And here we have an option called Power Platform and the Power BI. So in this way, they don't need to make all those steps in order to get to the report. They can connect, and here they connect to the entire semantic model, so the data model that is present in Power BI. So of course, you need to give them access to this semantic model, but once things are in place, this should work as expected. So here, once we connect, we have the different options. So I will use the same data set that I was just showing. And we have different options. So either a pivot table. So those who work with Excel, this allows us to insert a pivot table. But today I would like to show you the classic insert table that we have here, because this actually will allow you to select. So this looks like a bit like Power BI, as you can see. So for example, I want to take the product, the category, segment, and product, and let's say that I want to take the units. I think we can work with this one. So you select your table, you create a table. So based on this, people can select whatever they want. They click on Insert Table. So this will be a live connection. This means that what you have here can be synchronized with the Power BI data model. And what is great here is that Excel users that love Excel and love formulas, they can come here. Let me just zoom a bit and type their formulas based on the data that we have here, and that comes from Power BI. So for example, if I want to multiply the units per something, I don't know, just putting things like this. This doesn't make sense, but just to provide you an example, they can do it in this way. And this will allow them to be able to type their formulas, but have this data that comes from Power BI. And if, for example, they want to refresh, they can just click on the button and refresh the data. So this is a very useful way of integrating. So in this way, they are within Excel. They don't need to get out of Excel. They just connect to the data models. Afterwards, they can apply their formulas, and when they close and open again, this will be available as a table. So this is something to think of. And in case people just want to add some formulas for some calculations, you can just advise them to do it in this way. So these are 3 clicks, but you have the data in Excel. And another question that you may have in mind is how we can block this, because I already had some use cases where companies wanted to block these kind of features because they were afraid of people exporting the data and sending the data. And also what is difficult is to know which version of an Excel file is the right one. So people just end it with a lot of versions of Excel. So this is really a nightmare. So in this case, you have, if you are a Power BI admin, but if not, you can ask to a Power BI admin to disable. So you can disable this option. So you have the option to disable Excel, the live connection with Excel, and CSV. And if you disable all of these 3, you will no longer have this option in the export data. So if you click on 3 dots, you won't have the export data. So this is something that is possible. Just to keep in mind that you can enable this for specific security groups. So for example, you can just enable for some people in the company, not the entire company. So it's up to you to define who can use this option. And I saw that we have a question. Does the Power BI service have data source parameter? Yeah, also I'm not sure about the parameters. So maybe if you can clarify the question, that would be great indeed. Because with parameters, we can change the parameters on the data, on the semantic model itself, but maybe it's better to clarify this one. And so I don't know if you have questions on this first part. I think it's quite straightforward, where you have to just either export data from the visuals or to connect within Excel. So this is something that you could implement and make the people aware that this option exists, and they don't have to go to report, export the data, and afterwards do it and do this again and again. They just open in Excel and have everything in their well-known tool. So I don't know if you any questions? In any case, the one that was in the chat, I'm just waiting for a clarification, and afterwards, yeah, let's try to move forward. So this next situation is people who want to have a quick check on the data. So, for example, they say, okay, I want to implement, I want to add a small visual to my presentation, to my email, and so on. So this could be done with a feature that is called Explore, which is still in preview, but this is a great feature that can allow users to interact and explore data within the Power BI service. So I don't know if you already tested this, so this is still in preview and is a quite new feature, but I really like this because actually, normally up until now, if you wanted to create a visualization, you had to create a report, to add the visuals and maybe do some tests. What is interesting here is that once you have what we call a semantic model, so here I'm in the Power BI service, you can click on the settings and you have something called Explore this data. And when you click on this, you have a new window that opens. So as you can see here, it's not the report creation is an intermediate window where, for example, if I want to do the same, so maybe I want to analyze the product and the same, let's take the same units. Let's take the sum of units. And as you can see here, you have a visual that is added to, that is presented. So you can change the visual if you want another one. So for example, I feel like this one is okay, but for example, I can change to another one. I can keep the default one and so on. So in this case, you have the data. As you can see here, so you have the entire data. So for example, I can just expand again and again. As you can see here, you have the different details, or just let's get a step up. So in this way, you can do some exploratory analysis. So exploratory analysis. You can have a look at the numbers. You can have a look at, for example, a graphic without needing to create a report. So this could be useful to just compare maybe some numbers, to take a screen capture maybe of this visual if you want to add it into an email or a PowerPoint presentation. So this could also be an option. So this takes a couple of clicks. This is still a preview feature, so maybe to be careful if any issues. But on my side, I've already used this since a couple of months, so this works quite good. And in this way, this doesn't require you to create an entire report. You can just do a small analysis and afterwards close the window, and no report will be created. And if in case you like the analysis, you can also save as report. If you say, okay, I like this visual and I want to create a report on the top of this, you can also save as report and afterwards build the different visuals on the top of this. So this is a way to accelerate, the way people maybe they just want to take a screen capture, maybe of this. Of the numbers, maybe of the graphs. So in this way, they don't need to go to Excel, export the data to Excel, maybe create a pivot table and so on. But you can just come here and create with some drag and drop. They can use this feature as is. So this is one of the options that could also be interesting for the users. And I see that we have some clarifications on the question. So in the chat, in Power Query, we have the ability to manage parameters to easily provide the file path. It's no problem. So yeah, indeed, to answer the question, so Tiga, indeed you have this one, but you have to be the owner of the data set. So I'm not sure in what use case this could be, at least in link with Excel. The issue is, let me just share. So when you are here in Power BI service, so you have the semantic model here, you have the settings part, and here you have the parameters. So I think you are talking about this one. So I don't have parameters in this for this data model. I'm not sure if I have for another one, but you should find the parameters here, and afterwards you can just change them and refresh the data set. But this will impact everyone that is using your data set. So maybe to be careful about this. But indeed, you have this option. If you are the owner, you have edit rights on the data model. You just can come here, modify, save, refresh, so that it takes the changes into consideration and use it as is. I hope this answers the question. I don't know if there are any questions on this second feature with the explore feature. So this is something that you can also show to the users. Sometimes what is difficult is to make users aware of the structure of the data model, because if this is something new that they are not familiar with, maybe you have also to put in place a documentation so that they know what fields and what data model they should use. But this is something that should be thought of in parallel of this implementation. Next, one of the most, I would say, the feature and the use of Excel is I need to make an export every week. So let's say that someone from financial or accounting or controlling, they want to export the data because they want to have snapshots of the data, and they want, for example, to send the data to an external customer, to their boss, and so on. So the possibilities are really limitless. So in this use case, you have also several solutions. So you have the report subscriptions. Maybe this is something that you already use. I will show you just in a couple of minutes. And you also have the Power Automate integration. So the thing that I like about Power Platform and Microsoft is that we have different tools that we can combine with the different tools in order to build a solution. So for example, with Power BI, you can combine Power BI with Power Automate, with Power Apps, and in this way you can build some automation, for example, or some data extraction. So this is something that can be accomplished by combining those different tools. So what is great with report subscriptions is that you can, for example, if every morning, every Monday at 8 a.m. you need to have a copy of a specific report in your email, you can subscribe to a report. So let's just do a quick demo on this. So, for example, you have the report that we will be using. What you can do is you can subscribe to this report. So you can create a subscription. So I will talk about the dynamics just in a few seconds if we take the standard one. So you have to give it a name. You can use a recipient. So this could be internal or external people. So in this way, you can subscribe yourself, but also other people and groups of people. So this is a very useful feature. And afterwards, you can choose among the different options. So you have the none, the PDF, or the PowerPoint. You select the start, the end date, the repeat. So every day. For example, if I want every Monday at 8 a.m., I can put this in place on a.m. So in this way, every Monday at 8 a.m., I will receive, and people who I will specify here will receive a copy of this report. So this is something that is very useful in case you want to have on Monday morning, maybe you don't have time to check the Power BI report, and sometimes we create some tasks or some alerts to think of doing something, but often we just forget because it's Monday and we have other things to do. And in this way, we can just create a subscription, receive the Power BI report by email, and in this way we have the data that is available for us. So this is one way of doing this. So you have either PDF or PowerPoint exports. But what if, so today we talk about Excel, so what if you want an Excel export, kind of the same situation? So for this, you can use something that is called paginated reports. I don't know if you already heard of those. So we have classic reports that I just shown here with the dynamic part, with the different designs, visualizations, and so on. And you have another type of reports, which is the paginated reports, which is less beautiful, if I can say, than, and also, of course, I have the demo effect of things that are not working when I want them to work. Okay, should be okay. So you have the paginated reports. So these are reports that are made to be printed because, you know, when you have a classic Power BI report and you have a table in that report, you'll have to scroll in order to find, you know, all the information. If you need to print those reports, this is difficult because you don't have the entire data that is shown because you have to scroll. If you have these kind of situations with where you need to print or to send the entire data to someone, you can create a Power BI paginated report. And in this way, as you can see here, I just have 3 columns, so the channel, the month, and the volume. And here I have pages. So this is why it's called paginated report, because I have different pages and I have my data that is split by page. What is cool here is that when you want to subscribe to this kind of report, you have an option which is Excel. So Excel or CSV file. So this is great because let's say that if I want to have a copy of this data, so this the data that I'm showing in the report by Excel every week or every day or every month, this is something that I can do. So we don't have the Excel export option for the classic reports, but you do have this option for the paginated ones. So in this way, in case you want to have this one enabled, just create a paginated report, and afterwards you have the type of document and just send it by email. Another thing that is great here is that you can store. So in general, when we send a document by when we subscribe to a report, and maybe this is something that I can show you. Because I created normally, I think I don't have it here, but I can enable this. So when you receive an email, you will have this attached. So the file that will be attached to the email. But let's say that you want to store it somewhere. So let's say that you want to create snapshots of your Excel, of your data as an Excel file and store it somewhere in OneDrive or in SharePoint. So for this, you just have to choose. I will just take maybe export to Excel. I will just select this one. So you'll have a name for your file. You'll have a timestamp so that if, for example, every week you do exports, it changes the names and it doesn't replace the previous one. So in this way, each and every week, month, or day, you can export as an Excel file your data. So you can either send it to someone else, or also you can send a copy or store it somewhere on OneDrive or on SharePoint. So this is something that it's also interesting to know, that you have these capabilities of storing the file somewhere. And this is an option, that a feature that was introduced, because in some cases when you had files that were too big in terms of size, the emails were not working properly. So Microsoft implemented this feature in order for you to be able to store files somewhere in OneDrive or in SharePoint. So in this way, you can store there the different snapshots. This is something also to know on this topic. So you have the classic report, the report subscription. You have the paginated report subscription, and also something that's interesting also to talk about are the dynamic report subscription. So this would be the case if, for example, you have a table, a file or a table where you have different persons in the company, for example, with different filters that you want to apply to those reports, and you want to send to all those people. So instead of specifying every person in the company or every person that you want to send these reports to, you can base that on a table, and in this way you can send the files to those people. So just to make a short demo on this one as well, so that you have an idea of how this works. I will. No, let's keep the paginated. So you have the dynamic per recipient. So what you can do is choose a table where your data, your recipient's data is stored. I think I was working with this one. I was doing a demo yesterday. And you have these two rows. So we have two different people that are responsible for two different categories. And next you can, instead of here defining manually someone to send the report to, you can get that from data and send to a dynamic list. So in this way, if the list is updated, your subscription will be sent to all those people. So this is something that is also a great way of sharing content with others instead of just exporting and sending it by email on your own. So you can automate this kind of stuff. And if we talk about the Pod Automate thing, so about automation, in case this feature is not fitting 100% your need, what you can also do is make use of Pod Automate. So as this is not a Power Platform meetup session, I will not go very deep into the Power Platform part, but just to show you how easily it is to create such workflows. So if I get back to my report, I have here a page where I have different products, and let's say that maybe I see that there are some issues with some products. Let's say that I want to inform my marketing team that for these and these and these specific products, maybe we have an issue with those topics. So in this way, okay, I've chosen, and instead of exporting this visual data from this visual, exporting to Excel, selecting some topics, I can select my different items. And here I implemented a Pod Automate button. I will show that in a couple of minutes. So if I click on that button with my selection, what is important is to mention that it is dynamically linked to what is on my page. And in this way, I just selected a couple of items. I clicked on a button, and I will receive in a couple of minutes. I should receive. Let me just show you what this looks like. So this is not very beautiful, but you can create something a bit more interesting in terms of visualization. But what we have here is the products that I selected with the values. So these are decimal values, but nevertheless, we have the list. So in this way, you can define a Pod Automate flow that will retrieve the data that you select within the Power BI report, and afterwards send that data to someone in the company or outside the company. So in terms of setup, so this is something that is native within Power BI. So maybe you already noticed the Pod Automate button. So we have it here. So in terms of retrieving the data from Power BI report, you just need to specify what data you want to retrieve. So for example, for this use case, I put product and the total units. And afterwards, I have my button. You don't have a lot of customizations for this use case, but nevertheless, you can just color it in a specific way and specify a certain label. So what happens in the background? So here we are in Pod Automate. So to those who don't know what Pod Automate is, this is a tool, as it says, to automate things. So it has more than, I think, 1,000 connectors. So you can do a lot of things with Pod Automate. It is mainly used to automate workflows. So this means if every morning, every day you want to do a specific action, if when someone sends you an email with a specific content, you want to automate another, you want to trigger a specific workflow in the company, you can do so. You can create approval. So this is really a huge topic with the Power Platform. So if you don't know about Power Automate, I really suggest you to try and discover a bit more on this tool. So on this specific feature where we have a button, so we have three simple steps. So once again, what this does, I'm selecting here different products, and I want to send an email to someone within my company with that information. So what happens here? So we have our first step, which is on Power BI button clicked. So when we click on that specific button, we create a table. So this is just to make this email, so kind of table look alike. And afterwards, we send it by email. So with 3 simple steps, we have that in place. So this is really, and of course you can customize this. Instead of sending by email, you can, for example, create an Excel file that contains this data. You can send a Teams message. So really you have a lot of capabilities within the Power Platform. And this is, the most basic one. But just to show you how you come to that window. So when you are here, maybe let me do a real demo. So we have our button. Here, you just click on the button, you select something that you want to use in your Power Automate. You, for example, add a column. And here, you click on 3 dots, edit. And this will open the Power Automate interface where you will be able to create your flow. So this is something that you can do. So this is really very easy to put in place. And in this way, if you require some manual interaction, because in this use case, as you could see, a user needs to click on that button, this could be a specific solution for the use case. So we either have the subscription where things are automated on a weekly, daily basis, or if you want to have some custom interactions, you can also do it in this way. And I see that there is a question in the chat, Amon. So if there are many emails in the list, they would all be subscribed. But if someone has no data, they get no email. So I think it depends on the filters that you have. So normally everyone will get an email. I think I didn't test this one if no data is present. I think I will have to check this one. I would say that maybe they get the data, but without a filter applied. So maybe they will get the email, but the report will contain no filtered data. So yeah, maybe to check. Yeah, I think this should be checked, because when we create the subscription, we have to select the filter to be used. So yeah, maybe this one to be checked for sure. Normally, I didn't have this use case, so not 100% sure. But indeed, you have to specify a filter. You don't need to, but you can specify a filter. So I would say if maybe no filter, I don't know if it behaves by default with not sending anything at all, or sending something by default. I don't know if any other questions on the Power Automate, on the subscriptions part. So we have these dynamic subscriptions, the Power Automate topic. There are some limitations and considerations on the Power Automate side. So you're limited, I think, to 1,000 records. So you cannot really send a lot of data. This doesn't work in all the use cases, but still, you just have to find the right solution to the need you have. So this was the Power Automate integration. So the automated way of things. So we have I will just move here once again. We have the report subscriptions, the Power Automate integration that allows you to automate your different workflows. And if we switch to the fourth situation, users sometimes may say that they don't find the visual. So let's say that they have access to a specific report, but in the end, they don't like those visuals because this doesn't represent their use case, and they want to do some changes in the report. But if they don't have the rights to modify a report, they will not be able to do so. But there is something that they can still do, and this needs to be enabled for the report. And let me share you this here. So there is an option that can allow users, so if I go to reading view, so this means that the users don't have the rights to modify the report. So you have here a small option that you can activate that will allow them to come and modify here the visuals. So if I click on this option, they can come here. So as you can see, they are not in edit mode. So they don't have edit rights. They will not break anything on your report, but you can activate this option so that they come here and maybe personalize in a certain way the visual, so that maybe they want to see the information in a different way. This is something that they can do. So this is an option that you can activate, and afterwards they can change the Y, the X-axis, the legend, the tooltip, and so on. So this is something that is possible, and you need to just activate it. If I can come back here. So if we select our report you are working on, the settings of the report, and you have here among the different and many options that you have, I will just have to find, so this one, personalized visuals. So allow report readers to personalize visuals. So this is an option that can allow them, if they don't have edit rights, and sometimes you don't want to provide them edit rights because otherwise they can break everything in the report. You can just provide this option to the report readers, and in this way they can just modify the visuals as per the need, take a screen capture, and afterwards just quit the report. So this is something also that I think it's good to know, but this is not activated, I think, by default. You have to activate it on your side, if I remember well. So this is just a small tip on this topic, where you just, with a click, you can allow users to modify things in the report without really modifying, because otherwise they might break things. And another situation that we might have is when the users would like to combine the data with some budget, forecast, and so on. So they will export data from Excel, from Power BI to Excel. They will maybe cross with other data that comes from another source, and afterwards have the visualization and the analysis. So if we take the budget topic, I think the example that I will be showing is the objectives one. And here we will also use another Power Platform tool, which is the Power Apps. So we saw the Power Automate part, and now we will just have a look quickly at the Power Apps, which is a tool made to help you create applications in the Microsoft stack. So this is drag and drop, so you don't need any coding. So this is called low code, no code. So you don't need to have coding experience. You can just drag and drop and create your app. And this thing took me about 5 minutes to implement. So just to let you know that you can easily implement something. You can of course spend days on developing this app. So this is something that you can customize. For the purpose of this demo, I just created a small app that I will try just to show you here, if it wants to load. Okay. And I think that I have some issues with my Power BI. Okay, that works. So I have another example here where I will just load it. So as you can see here, we have some objectives per state. So I just took an example with objectives per state. And you have the sales and the objective. What you can notice here is a small application that is a small kind of visual that was added to the page, where actually I'm able to modify the data. So this is the power of the integration of Power Apps with Power BI, is that you can create a small component within your Power BI that would integrate like a Power BI, visualization. But let's say that I want to change the objective for the New York State. Let's say, okay, I can select here the New York. I have here the objective, and instead of 1,500, let's just put something 1,400. So I just modify, I click on save, and if you have a look focus on the New York data, you will see that actually, so it will get updated on this part. This takes normally a couple of just seconds. And as you can see, I hope you've seen it, the change. So the number was changed immediately. So in this way, actually, you can do an integration between Power Apps and Power BI to be able to modify the data directly within Power BI. So this is something that we generally say, okay, on Power BI, you can only visualize the data, but with this feature, you are also allowed to modify the data. So this requires a small setup. This application, as you can see, it's very, very basic, and I did it in 5 minutes. So for those who are new to Power Apps, maybe you will need a bit more time. But just to let you know that this is something that is easy to implement. I will just maybe, I think I was in the right part. And you just need to add the data. As you could see here also is that when I click on this, my component is also filtered. So you can create interactions between those. And on Power Apps side, it's something that is very, I will just let this load just to show you. Yeah, sure. So there is a question in the chat. Can you do this with Excel as data source? So you would still need to build Power Apps application, but indeed you can write into an Excel file. So in any case, this doesn't write actually in Power BI. This writes in a database. So in this use case, it writes in a database, but you can also write in an Excel file. And here is the Power Apps just to show you. We have one screen with one button and one gallery. So of course you can customize it based on your needs, but just to show you something that we can build in 5 minutes, it's really very fast. And you can define where the data will be written, so either in a database or in an Excel file. So it's up to you. Do you have any questions on this part, on the Power Apps? I mean, there are a lot of resources on the Power Apps part, so I really encourage you to discover more on this topic, and also the integration of Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI to bring some power to your solutions. So you have these integrations, and something that I would like really to highlight before we finish the meetup is that one important thing is to make people aware of Power BI and of the different features that exist in Power BI, because often they are not aware. Often companies implement Power BI, they just throw it to the users and say, okay, you just go with it and make with it. But what is important is to do trainings, to talk about benefits, to do demos, to explain to the user how they can use this tool, how it can help them, and in this way, maybe they will be less reticent to use this one. So this is I think this is the most important thing that you could do if you have this situation, is just to ensure maybe users are doing something because they don't know that a feature exists in Power BI. And on my side, as a consultant, I already had a lot of use cases where people requested a feature that really existed already in Power BI, but they are not aware of this. So this is an important thing to keep in mind with these situations linked to Excel implementation. So these are the 6 situations. I wanted to just talk about 2 more without doing the demo. You have something called DAX Query View in Power BI Service. So for those who are familiar with DAX, so you just write calculations based on your data. So this is something that people can do within Power BI Service and create the calculations. I would say this is not suited for everyone because still this needs some knowledge of DAX. So if people are new to DAX, and I'm sure they will not want to learn something new if they will not use it. So this maybe to keep in mind. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is you can also create, if we talk about Power Automate, create a flow that will execute a query against a data set. So for example, if on a daily basis you want to get an extract of your data by email, this is something that is also possible to do with Power Automate. And I don't know if on your side you have other options that you use. or you implemented, or something that you already did, or the way you managed the situation. Because on my side, I finished. Normally, I will just add a last word on a topic. But yeah, don't hesitate if you have something to share. I mean, it's often about humans and just training the people, but maybe there are other situations that you face on your side. And I think with these, the ones that I listed, we already have a lot of solutions to think of. And yeah.
Thanks a lot. And any more questions from people in the house? And in fact, you helped me a lot, Anastasia, because I think you've got multiple screens, right? So you were able to see the questions.
I'm
Because
trying
I
to
got
follow.
disconnected.
Okay.
Great. Good. So I think you've answered all the questions. We don't have outstanding questions. I could see that some of them, responded to your answer. So can you do this? I think, have you answered this one about can you do this with Excel
Yeah.
data
Yeah.
source? I
Also,
wasn't sure. Okay, yeah, you did. Okay.
this one. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Let's see if there's any more questions. All right. So while maybe we expect questions from others, I can ask you the two general questions we usually ask participants, which I mean, we ask special guests that we bring, which is thank you too. We're the ones who need to thank you. My background is looking different now. I'm finally now set up in a library. I was on the road the other time. There was an emergency that just clashed with the meeting time. So a lot of times we have, like you are someone with a very different background, and like I told you, most of the participants, well, today we had participants also in Europe and America, but most of the participants in the community, those who will even watch the recording, I noticed some of them are dropped off the call, but it's usually network. Our network is not always very good in Nigeria, so it's not like maybe they're not getting it. It's always those network issues. People always message me about the recording, so we get maybe times 4 the number of people in the meeting who watch the recording. So the point I wanted to bring out is the fact that we could learn from your own journey and story, and we always take that opportunity to ask every guest to tell us about their journey. How did they get into this data analytics space? How did they get into this? In your own case, how are you able to even manage the Power Platform tools? And kind of your take on the whole space is different. I see that you try to take features across many tools rather than just focused on and think only narrowly in terms of one tool. So in short, tell us about your journey, your story to how you get here.
Yeah. In short, so I discovered Power BI when I was an intern. So the company where I did my internship, they wanted to test Power BI, and I was the intern who tested it. So they they gave me this task. So in this way, I discovered Power BI. So they wanted to implement the tool, and with just some tests. So this is how I used it. And the Power BI, why Power BI? Because they were using already a lot of Microsoft stack and technology, and they just say, okay, we can also use Power BI for this. So this is how I discovered Power BI, and I was an intern. I was doing my internship, and afterwards I started, and I'm still continuing with Power BI, and afterwards the Power Platform part. I think when we work with Microsoft technology, we have so many things and so many applications and things to learn, and this is something that can help us maybe answer some issues or some problems that we cannot do with Power BI directly. So maybe for example, the right back feature with Power Apps. I had a customer who really needed to be able to modify the data within Power BI, and Power Apps was a great solution for that. So I think what is really important is to try to find solution, and as you said, is not to focus on one specific technology, but to see the solution in its global. I think efficairement. the classic.
I forgot. I forgot I was on mute. Thanks. So thank you for that. And another question that we have, which, like I told you, is the two questions we ask everybody. So the second one is, what's your advice to someone starting out now? If there's someone in the audience who, and that's the truth, we have people in the audience, people who watch the recording, who they are a bit confused on how to go from learning to actually being able to work in a company as someone adding value. And some people get lost in having to learn all kinds of things and never getting that confidence that they can be able to add value in a company setting. So how will you advise them to go about their learning to become people who can become practitioners?
Sure. So I would say to find a use case, try to find a use case to work on, because sometimes when we start learning something new, it's difficult because there are too many things and we just get lost because there are too many things to learn, too many capabilities. And sometimes on LinkedIn, what I see are the data challenges and data viz challenges, where the companies put in place a data set, a use case, and just people submit their reports, their solution. And I really find this great because we can have the data, we can build, and you can practice on that data set, because often the data set is an issue to find. And I think this is the way to start, is to find a use case, try to start small, to try just to add something, to add a specific visual on the page, and afterwards build on the top of that. Because otherwise, if we try to learn everything, the optimization, the modeling, and so on, so I think we have to start with the basics and to start to build on that. But I think the most interesting one is to have a use case and try to practice based on that use case.
Great. Okay. So I'm going to try to summarize some of what you've said. And from your answer to the first question, one learning I could take away from it is, you didn't say it that way, but for sure, you hinted it in your answer. You started with helping the company explore Power BI. They needed someone who was going to, if you could have said no, but you didn't say no.
Sure, I was an intern, so.
And then you began to also explore Power Platform and Power Apps. So I think one raising his hands up and always trying to be there, not being afraid of I don't have to be an expert first to begin to try to use this for organizations. I think I took that learning from your first answer, and here you are, you kept doing this for those many years. Then the second question which you answered, what I could summarize from your answer is that should start doing, applying whatever we are learning to the needs that we have. If I am an accountant and I do things maybe differently, now that I'm learning this, I try to apply it within my domain, and then to join communities and take up all these data challenges and apply and join those things that will make one to think creatively and solve issues. So that's what I could take from it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Trying to see if there's any. All right. So people are also saying thank you. Amani is saying thank you for your valuable session and time. Tiga Sawadogo too. So I think at this point we will let you go have back your Sunday. Thank you very much for sharing it with us.
Yeah.
And
thanks to everyone for joining on a Sunday. It's not obvious.
Yeah. Yes, thank you very much, and we hope in future that we will be able to have you again. We will not come back to you next week so that we'll let you rest. Maybe next year. Or,
That would be a pleasure.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Have a wonderful week.
You too. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.